Unfortunately, anti-Semitism isn't new. Anti-Semitism has been around. It's been in the water that people drink.
Whoever wants to blame somebody blames Jews.
If there's a problem, Jews are responsible.
In a big lie, repeated again and again and again, without any reply, without any answer, becomes the truth.
There was a general understanding among small-town, rural, white Americans that their world, the world that was the real America, was being eroded by the powers of Wall Street, the powers of the railroad, the powers of finance capitalism, and that Jews were a part of that.
Many Jews felt stigmatized in different ways simply because they were Jewish, and so many Americans mistrusted Jews. And here comes Henry Ford.
Ford was the most significant, powerful voice and force for anti-Semitism.
He was more popular than politicians. He was more beloved than the presidents. Anything Henry Ford did, anything he said, was news.
He was an American hero, and he disseminated anti-Semitic material, and therefore he was dangerous.
You know, he was the internet of then. He had a publishing press, he had a newspaper, and he was able to get the word out.
He wanted to take his message straight to Americans without any filter, without any mediating influence. So that was the main reason he bought the Dearborn Independent.
The Dearborn Independent pronounced the role of Jews as this international force which was dominating the world economy, dominating world politics.
Henry Ford fixated on Jews and made them responsible for every evil that he saw going on in the country, whether it was changes in baseball or music or whatever.
He was interested in spreading his message, pointing the finger at the Jewish community, looking for examples to build his conspiracy theory. And of course, he found one. He found Aaron Sapiro and used him as an example.
Aaron Sapiro was a person of very humble origins, who really was a self-made man, became a lawyer despite his own very humble background.
This is a man who had been an orphan and had had a very difficult early life.
He was an idealist. He was truly someone who believed that law could change the world. And he set out to do that by combining farmers into these organizations through which they could bargain collectively.
Ford devoted a tremendous amount of attention in the Dearborn Independent to labeling Sapiro and his ilk as foreign agents who were going to affect the American food chain by these farm cooperatives and were going to starve Americans.
He used his publication in over 20 articles to repeat this point that this man is an example of how the Jews want to control parts of our society.
He's absolutely, penned in by these articles, and that's why, he has to sue.
But Henry Ford had enough money that he could muzzle people who were willing to stand up to him.
The stakes were enormous. To go after Henry Ford in court under these circumstances was to take an enormous risk.
It's an important trial because Sapiro was really defending not just himself, but in many ways he was defending the Jewish people.
March 1927, the trial finally begins, and Aaron Sapiro goes first. He gives this moving testimony about his really deprived childhood, his heroic attempts to serve in the military during World War I, his triumphs with the agricultural cooperative movement, and his vision for what cooperation would accomplish for Americans. And then the cross-examination begins. And the cross-examination is conducted by a sitting United States Senator, James Reed. Senator Reed has this well-deserved reputation that he could command the jury's attention and break witnesses on the stand.
I don't think they thought for 1 minute that they could not break him down.
Reed kept Sapiro on the stand under cross-examination for more than 3 weeks. But Sapiro is this electric personality, and everybody was on the edge of their seats every day because Aaron Sapiro is holding them spellbound.
Aaron was just as bright as they came. He had a faculty for remembering every single thing he ever saw or ever read or was ever told, and he was a tenacious fighter.
As the plaintiff's case continues to unfold, it's looking worse and worse for Ford. And it was Reed who collapsed of exhaustion one day.
So Ford settled out of court with Sapiro and brought the trial to an end.
It leads him to apologize, and what an apology.
It's a statement about Jewish inclusion and Jewish equality, and Ford's embrace is now being offered for Jews everywhere.
This is a victory which is so huge that this man deserves the highest accolades, the highest respect, the highest appreciation.
What he does get is a promise that the Dearborn Independent will be shut down permanently. By December 1927, it has ceased publishing.
The significance of what Aaron did was to remind us that individuals can make a huge difference.
Had Sapiro not taken Ford to court, none of this would have happened.
This is a story that needs to be told.
Look what one man could do if he had the guts and the courage and the passion to stand up against bigotry.
Whenever hatred's there, it has to be confronted. Wherever it is, it needs to be confronted. Because when it's not confronted, we know what can happen.